Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be a Titanfall 3 news discussion. Right at the beginning, I am going to be reading Respawn's official announcement about the delisting of Titanfall 1 and what it means for Titanfall 3. If you've been following the Apex Legends and the Titanfall tension and debacle, this is touching down on that. If you like long streams, talk shows, hit subscribe and the bell button. And if I'm going to bring everybody over with the redirect now from the other stream, I do multiple talk shows a day. And right here at the beginning of the stream, I'm going to give you what you're likely looking for. This is an SNTR update. Titanfall 3 news has come inadvertently, an announcement from Respawn Entertainment about Titanfall 1 being delisted. So if you're wanting to snag Titanfall 1, try to get it wherever it is quick, because it will soon be removed. If you like these SNTR updates, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss my uploads, or check out SNTR Gaming, where I streamed this live. I am going to read you their announcement in its entirety because I think it's important given what is happening. This is what they had to say. They posted this from their official Twitter. Titanfall is part of our DNA at Respawn. It's a game that showcased the ambitions of the studio when it was first released more than 7 years ago, and it continues to be a beacon of innovation that we strive for in all of our games. We made the decision to discontinue new sales of the original Titanfall game starting today, and will be removing the game from subscription services on March 1st, 2022. We will, however, be keeping servers live for dedicated fan base still playing and those who own the game and are looking to drop into a match. So I apologize, it's gone. You can't buy it anymore. But if you own it, you can still continue to play. Rest assured, they say, Titanfall is core to Respawn's DNA, and this incredible universe will continue. That's the most important line, that the universe will continue. Today in Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends, and in the future, okay? So they're signifying that both Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends and the future, so that leads to my thinking that they are basically saying Titanfall 3 will be a reality one day. This franchise is a North Star for the caliber of experience we will continue to create here at Respawn. Thank you from the entire Respawn team. So obviously, the question is this just fluff? Is it about Apex? My contention is the way that they've couched it and phrased it by saying it will continue, and they mentioned both Titanfall 2 and Apex and into the future, tells me that they, in their mind, are seeing Titanfall 2 and Apex as ways for it to continue, but then they're looking beyond those two titles, which to me is a very non-distinct, non-specific Titanfall 3 announcement. They're saying, listen, beyond these two titles, the Titanfall universe will continue, and I am concluding that that means Titanfall 3 will be a thing. I can't see them not doing it. It's in high demand. People want to see it. It's a beloved franchise. That's another point I really want to make. Titanfall is a beloved franchise. The original Titanfall 1 launch had a more solidly running beta than a lot of the AAA shooters that were out there. And they did something that was very, very contrary to the token conventional wisdom of the day. They had limited guns, which I think led to how balanced and enjoyable it was, but they also added something to the playing field that was dramatically different than anything at that point in time. Giant mech suits that could be, climbed into, wall running, double jumping. They took the first-person shooter landscape and they catapulted it beyond where it had kind of landed in the rut of the predictable sort of Call of Duty Battlefield franchises. I'm not throwing shade on Call of Duty and Battlefield, but I do think Titanfall was well ahead of its game. Now, I do think that the hackers have had a significant influence on their desire to do anything with the franchise. Hackers are very cannibalistic, and we all hate you because you're terrible for gaming and gaming experiences. You're cannibals that destroy the very hobby you seem to enjoy, which you don't. It's psychologically conflicted, but hackers and the way they treated Titanfall 1 and 2 is very much a part of this discussion. Like, how much do they really want to invest in another Titanfall if hackers are going to be such a prevalent problem, as I'm sure they face in Apex, as Call of Duty does in their franchise, as Halo is facing in its game right now. So the future is seemingly bright for those of us that would love to see a Titanfall 3, but right now, very much unknown with respect to when they would even consider doing it, though they are saying, beyond Apex and Titanfall 2, there is a future for the Titanfall universe. If you like these short SNTR updates, hit subscribe and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, that's it. That's my thoughts on it. Curious what you guys think. Am I off my rocker here, or am I appropriately reading this announcement to see that, like, in their mind, Titanfall continues outside of Titanfall 2 and Apex? It's going to continue, I would think, as its own entity, as its own franchise buster. It's gonna bust out of those two housings, as it were. So curious what you guys think. We could probably get a poll going here in a moment. Do you think this is an actual announcement? Yeah, last night Creature accidentally called it Titanfield. I thought that was hysterical. And then I thought, man, how amazing would that be? Like a Battlefield-sized game with a bunch of Titans running around would be absolutely phenomenal. It would be really, really enjoyable. We are in a new stream, so make sure you switch over to live chat and make sure that you smash the like button. Get us our first 100 likes. Looks like about 200 people rode the redirect over. You better be right. Can't wait for Titanfall 3. Maybe we'll get an announcement at the Game Awards. I think it's a little too early for that. I really, really do. Titanfall 3 update. There might or might not be a Titanfall 3. That's your update. No, I disagree. I think they were very intentional in their wording, right? I believe they were very intentional in their wording. They didn't go super generic. They said this universe will continue both in Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and into the future. That's a third category, right? They've set up three sort of ways that it'll continue. If it was just going to continue in Titanfall 2 and Apex, that they would have just said that, right? They had a Titans versus Titans mode in Titanfall 2. No. I was saying having literally having like a Battlefield-sized map with Titans also on the map. So take Titanfall's combat with both pilots and Titans and put it on a map that size. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Titanfield already happened. It's called Battlefield 2142. Titanfall 3 is going to be a MOBA. I don't think that. I'm confident it will happen. The question is when. What's good, Melrose Mike? I feel the autophagic is more accurate than cannibalistic. Autophagy is self-eating. Cannibalism is eating other people. That's what they do, though, Zubair. That's what they do. They consume others. They consume the experience of others. They're not hurting just themselves. They're hurting others, and in the process, hurting themselves. Yeah, so it's tough. It's tough to have the right word, but like, I don't know. Titanfall 3, spiritual successor to the Halo Infinite microtransaction store. They said they were not planning a Titanfall 3 when Apex released. Yeah, it's been a long time since then, and they've fielded questions to indicate that no, Titanfall 3 is not off the table. They just don't currently have a plan for it. Right? It's like people will tell you right now they're not planning on having kids, and then you meet them 3 years later and they got a little one in their hands. You're like, you wouldn't say, I thought you weren't going to have kids. You'd be like, well, no, they said that then. Titanfall 2 campaign, hands down, was amazing. It really was. The only criticism of the Titanfall 2 campaign that I've ever seen is both that it's too short, and I think the final boss fight is a little weak. Other than that, yeah, the Titanfall 2 campaign is amazing. Titanfall 3, in my mind, this is them saying, oh no, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to be a thing. It will. Does that count as a food analogy? Here, let me, all right. Let's see what you guys think. Titanfall 3. Does the announcement indicate it's coming? Do you think the announcement that they outlined, do you think it indicates that Titanfall 3 is coming? Or no, Lono, you're reading too far into it. Like, I'm curious what you guys think. Titanfall 2 was a great experience for $5. It was a great experience when it came out for full price, I would argue. I thought it was very good when it came out. I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I didn't feel like I got like a low value or any of that. I felt like I got a very, very good game. I actually just rewatched the ending of Titanfall 2 campaign the other day. It still hits so good. Just that something is coming, says Robert Jones. Sven says, I don't think it indicates Titanfall 3 is coming. I think them reiterating a few months back indicates they are still planning to make it. So you take more stock from the generic thing they said a couple of months ago than what they said yesterday. Okay. That's my secret, Cap. I'm always fat. Don't get me wrong, I love the Titanfall 2 campaign, but I highly doubt a Titanfall 3. Abe says, I feel like we might be reading too much into it. Into the future isn't enough to make me jump to a Titanfall 3 is coming conclusion. I just see it as, in their mind, they're thinking in categories, okay? So they're thinking in categories. And they think, yeah, the Titanfall universe is going to continue. Yep. It's going to continue in Titanfall 2. It's going to continue in Apex. And it's going to continue into the future. And so when they separate from the two games that exist now and say into the future, that to me indicates, oh no, they have another Titanfall game in mind. Now, again, I could be wrong, but that's just how I read it. Kang is coming. Oh, he's in the reflection. Oops. Wait, that's an Ant-Man and Wasp shirt. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Stunt Team 2021. That could be old concept art, though. That movie's already out. Isn't it? Wait, are they doing another movie called Ant-Man and the Wasp? I thought they already had that movie out. That shirt doesn't make any sense to me. Titanfall 3 is coming. It's pretty obvious. The thing is, it probably isn't going to be for another 4 years. Now, that I agree with, Wheeze. I don't think you're going to see Titanfall 3 anytime soon. Oh, it's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Oh, so they are retaining the Ant-Man and the Wasp header, though. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be Ant-Man Quantumania. Hilly says, I wouldn't expect them to announce Titanfall 3 when Apex launched. It wouldn't give confidence to Apex. Now that it's on very good footing, they're more open to discuss future projects. I think that's an excellent observation, Hilly. Yes. Titanfall 3 announcement during like a launch of Apex would be very, very strange. It'd be very, very strange. And as you're saying, it would hurt confidence in well, why would I play Apex if Titanfall 3 is coming? Elitist says, maybe they accepted a pitch for Titanfall 3 and they're about to start development, but that doesn't explain taking Titanfall 1 off the store. I don't trust them to make a good Titanfall 3 with their practices plus Apex. What about their practices in Apex makes you think they can't make a good Titanfall 3? You got to flesh that out for me. Massive breaking Battlefield news. DICE to be replaced by Ripple going forward. DICE GM resigns. Wait, are you goofing or is that true? Did that actually just happen? Or are you goofing around? No, 23 minutes ago, big shakeup at DICE. The GM, Oscar Gabrielson, leaves the company. Vince Zampella from Respawn Entertainment is taking over a bigger role as the new boss of the Battlefield franchise. Yeah. Follow the White Rabbit. Respawn.com has careers listed. Okay. They've got open positions in data project management. They've got open 14 positions in game design. So they have the Star Wars team, and they have two new game incubation teams. So technical and systems game designer and a lead combat designer for new game incubation. That could point to the early stages of Titanfall 3 because they have these positions open right now. Software development, they have 21 positions open right now. All of them look to be for Apex. Some of them don't stipulate. So they are, it looks like, they are beginning hirings for a new game incubation. There's both a single player and a new game incubation. So in the art department, they have 3, looks like 3, 4, 5. They've got 5 art department positions for a new game incubation. So there's a single player game incubation and a new game incubation at Respawn. So that the new game incubation, they could be in the beginning stages of building that team. Titanfall 2 had so many DDoS issues that aren't resolved. Sure. Titanfall 1 and 2, 8, amazing. The hackers have ruined such a great game. Right. Apex is the opposite of what made Titanfall good. Slow and boring. So that's a subjective premise. All right, that's not something that they've done that is like truly wrong or bad. After taking Titanfall 1 off the store instead of helping fix it or anything is not something I want to see from a studio. Okay, with as much respect as I can muster, your premise is both subjective and unfair. I think your premise is I would actually say it's ridiculously unfair. There is literally no impetus on that studio to fix or support Titanfall 1. I think that premise is ludicrous. It's a 7-year-old game. So you're welcome to think it. You're welcome to think it, but my opinion is that what you're saying is absolutely ludicrous. They're not in a position to support and fix Titanfall 1. And then your subjective premise that Apex is slow and boring, again, I think it's super hard to maintain that premise. I think it's very difficult to maintain that premise in light of Apex and the game flow, the speed, the popularity, the streams, the tournaments. I think your position's a tough one to make tenable and to argue it. I think the hardest part of your position is arguing that they should help fix Titanfall 1. I think that's just, and I'm not trying to be insulting, but it just seems an absolutely just silly premise to maintain that. If you're playing Apex and you feel like it's slow and boring, I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise. I'm more surprised it stayed for this long, says Wheezy. The reason I don't think Titanfall 3 is that EA dropped Battlefront 3 because of the backlash in Battlefield 2. With the amount of issues Titanfall 2 had, I don't see EA wanting Titanfall 3. But no, I don't think those are equal, Akuta Papa. The backlash for Battlefield is not even remotely in the same category as Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 launched to overwhelming praise, and it did fine, but it commercially struggled because of where they launched it. That's not comparable to Battlefield 2 and the backlash of Battlefield 2. I think you're creating a false equivalency there. I don't see Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 2 being equal with respect to consumer feedback. I think the opposite is true. I think Titanfall 2 was lauded and praised, and people were angry that they launched it when they did because they set the game up for failure. Titanfall 1 should have been pulled a long time ago. I think that was an EA call. If they were to try to fix the original Titanfall, it would be a waste of time. Agreed. There's no money in it. There's no money in it to spend their bandwidth and time on that game. A couple more likes for our first 100 likes. If you're tuning in, the Titanfall 3 news in my mind was announced yesterday by Respawn, where they indicated that the Titanfall universe would continue both in Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and into the future, they said. And in my mind, that is a very soft announcement for a Titanfall 3 development that would likely land in 4 or 5 years from now, as far as a release date is concerned. Like a Titanfall 3 release date is nowhere in sight. I would think 4 or 5 years from now, easy. The main reason Battlefront 3 isn't going to happen is EA doesn't have the exclusive license, and they probably looked at the cost of getting it for a game that they don't have much confidence in. Yeah, that's another element. I don't think they're comparable. I do not think they're comparable. Titanfall 2 was very much loved and praised by the community. It very much was. To the point that they've had to field questions about Titanfall 3. Like, Respawn has had to field questions about Titanfall 3, which I think lends credence to my argument that there is a reason to develop it. There's a reason to develop it, as opposed to not developing it. Titanfall 1 was completely unplayable with DDoS issues. It should have been off the shelves years ago. That, I think, I agree more with that than continuing to support it or help it. You can't, that game was getting obliterated. It was getting basically, sliced to ribbons by hackers and DOSers. As a CyberSec guy, the fact that they couldn't fix a DDoS issue is really concerning for future development if they use the same infrastructure. I would imagine that they wouldn't. Wouldn't it stand to reason, Alarian, that they could be doing the same dadgum thing to Apex, if that were possible? I think you may have proof in the market that that's not a concern anymore, right? The server architecture and the setup for both Apex Battle Royale and Apex Arenas, the Titanfall DDoS issue hasn't seemed to touch that game, which would, I think, lend credence to the fact that they've left behind whatever was wrong, and they couldn't go back and fix it, seemingly, because maybe it was baked too much into the crust of the netcode of Titanfall 1. I don't know if they've ever come back out. I don't know if they've ever come out and truly addressed why it was so easily happening. They were dedicated servers, were they not, in Titanfall 1? I don't think they were peer-to-peer. Maps were too big. At least I think they were too big. I could be wrong. As far as I know it, Apex still has huge DDoS issues. Don't get it twisted. Now, hang on, though. They have DDoS issues, Wheeze, but not to the extent that Titanfall did, right? It's not, I don't think it's, is it comparable? I didn't say that Apex doesn't have DDoS issues. I said they don't have the DDoS issues of Titanfall. That was how I framed it. It's not even remotely the same as far as the scope and the reach and like holding the game hostage. DDoSing is still happening, but not to the degree and the scope that it was happening in Titanfall. I could see Titanfall open world game before I could see them releasing Titanfall 3. Apex is their go-to multiplayer. Apex has massive DDoS issues. It's bad. It's very bad. It's okay. Hang on a minute. Why is nobody reporting on it then? Why I'm not seeing, and I'm not discounting what you're saying, but you could be falling into the trap of hyperbole, of like seeing reports on Reddit and forums and assuming that this is a widespread horrible issue. Why is it not being reported on? I'm not seeing any articles about this. I watch Apex every night and I see DDoS in high ranked 3 to 4 times a week. It's pretty significant. It's just accepted? Or is it in a specific arena? Are streamers being targeted? It has DDoS issues at higher ranked lobbies, which is potentially why it's not being reported on, because is that a smaller funnel? Is that a smaller element of the game? I would love it. It's 12:30. I'm falling over. You're goofy. I'm very excited to try it, Mama. Thank you. I will have that later. Thanks, babe. No, give me a second. Okay, sorry, I hadn't taken a break yet, and my kids were back, and my daughter's mouth was feeling better, and so I was talking to her about it with her palate expander. And my wife brought down lunch. Okay, so the DDoSing is not happening in the casual games or the low ranks. There's plenty of DDoS attacks in high-ranked lobbies in Apex, as well as cheating. It's been a problem for so long, it feels like it's here to stay. It's so disappointing. I just had the problem of getting 20 plus kill, 4K damage, 70 kill count, death squads to my servers who run the entire map. That's its own problem, is it not? It's been an issue for months. Yeah, so on June the 3rd, it looks like, on June the 3rd, they were making huge steps to fix the DDoSing problem, and so that was in the summer. A few months ago, some of the top level players that had played the longest Apex Legends game ever, because the server kept getting DDoSed. So what happens when the server gets DDoSed? Does it try to put everybody back in another server or something? And what do they do? So it kicks you to the lobby. So are people just doing this when they're losing? Is that what it is? Like, oh, I'm going to lose, and they DOS the server? Like, is that what people are doing? They're like, well, I'm going to lose, boop, and they knock the server off? Losing, trolling, etc. It just seems so silly. Knock an entire server off because you're going to lose. Disconnects and then it tries to reconnect you to the server. They DOS to make people lag and become easy kills. Wait, I don't understand. I thought it knocked the server off. It happens a lot because it's easy to DOS in Apex and snipe streamers and farm up your stats. Seems silly. Is this your first day on the internet or interacting with other humans? Well, that's what I mean. I guess it's not silly, Zubair. It seems silly to go to this great length to be ranking up in a playlist and like knocking the whole server off. It just seems different to me than cheating. It's more of like a tantrum. It makes the entire lobby go AFK. It doesn't affect the DOSer. Then how are they not catching them? Lono, I hope you're well. I've been blindly supporting you for months at $100 a month. I'm wanting to cancel, but your website doesn't recognize either of my two email addresses. I need your help in canceling. We never launched packages on our website, Fat Rabbit. Thank you for the $10 tip. If you're doing like a $100 tier here on YouTube, I don't have any control over that. Our website doesn't have packages. We never launched them. We entertained the idea, but as far as I know, you're a member on YouTube, and you can go into YouTube and cancel your membership. They catch people all the time. They see match history of players with 50 plus kills back to back, and it's obvious. Free-to-play games will always have these issues. Yeah, it seems insane to me. I told you that not giving out actual wizard powers was going to catch up with you. Yeah, we didn't launch the packages on the SNTR network. We never did it. It never happened. There's a cancellation fee of 5 orders of coffee. Yeah. If you're just tuning in, the Titanfall 3 news came in the wake of a Respawn announcement about the delisting of Titanfall 1. And we are talking about obviously Titanfall 3 release date is not even a thing right now, but as far as I can tell, they basically confirmed they'll be building it and making it. We even looked at some of the Respawn Entertainment careers that are up right now. But the DDoSing from Titanfall 1 seemingly has also reared its head in Apex. Unless he did high tier on 2 channels. I think he does. I think Fat Rabbit has high tier on both channels. Unless he's doing a Patreon, which I've not checked that in an age. Have you seen the video the day before, an MMO that will be for all consoles? I think I have seen that. It's illegal and a crime. Can't blame a lot of this on the dev. I worry that so much of this is just such a new problem. Like when they were building the architecture for Apex Legends, was this even a concept? Was somebody just coming into a server and DOSing it? Like that wasn't even a concept. I mean, I know that DOSing's been around for a really long time, but for servers like that, Respawn does a pretty good job with bans. I think their detection could be better. Weezy says, so to get technical, okay, so we're going to get the technical reasoning behind it. DOSing's been around since 96. Right, but has it been... Here's what's probably the issue, Wheeze. It's not that it's been around. It's was it so accessible to the average consumer? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, is it reached a scope and is it reaching a consistency or an accessibility that was non-existent 5 years ago? Yes, it could happen 5 years ago, but it would be incredibly rare. It would be like having insurance for your business and having insurance for something that's like super, super rare, and then suddenly it starts happening more and more and more. Can you do a recap of Titanfall 3? The Titanfall 3 news was baked into the Respawn announcement that Titanfall 1 would be delisted, and they said that the Titanfall the Titanfall universe was going to continue in Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and into the future. And I take their "and into the future" statement to mean they will build Titanfall 3. It's very easy to get a script to DOS with. So I'm okay, but it wasn't happening as much back then, Wheeze. Why? Since the mid-2000s, you could get any script kiddie to get a DOS script. Yeah, but why wasn't it happening as much back then? Why is it increasing? There's got to be a reason. So maybe it's not ease of accessibility. Is it just more people know about it? Is it because way more people are playing games on PC now? You know, PC gaming's on a rise. We played a lot of these games on console. I don't work in game dev, so I might be oversimplifying it, but honestly, just hiding user IPs would stop it all, if not all DOSing. I don't think that's how it works in Apex, though. If it's making everybody lag but the DOSer, they're doing something directly to the server that's unaffecting them. It was, but you weren't privy to it, like most people weren't as connected to computers. I'm not saying I wasn't privy to it. I'm not saying I wasn't, or that I was. You are correct that I wouldn't have been as privy to it. Think of it like this. More people have access to computers, but not everyone had a PC. DOSing's always been easy, but not everybody right, that's... Okay. So I was right in my accessibility angle in that it's more accessible now. I was wrong in the second part. It's not more accessible now because it's easy. It's more accessible now because more people have PCs, so more people are able to do it. Yeah, Eugene's input is also helpful here. One person can now do it. It used to take a whole group of people. Lono's like, I've been DOSing since the 90s. Where'd all these noobs come from? These Christmas noobs. You got DOS in the Call of Duty days on your 360? I played the ever-loving snot out of World of Warcraft and Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. I never had that happen, ever. We played a ridiculous amount. Never got knocked off, ever. All the cloud services available, I can rent a Google server for a day and use it to DOS. It's become easier now. You wouldn't have recognized it? Yeah, I would have. If I all of a sudden got knocked offline, I think I would have recognized that because all of my friends would have been like, yeah, I got knocked offline too. You would have thought the server crashed or your modem reset. Maybe I just got lucky and we stayed out. My internet was never, like, I would have memories of that, like about to win a game or playing a really good game of Call of Duty and my internet getting shut off. I would remember that. Maybe there were specific playlists where it happened more, like Search and Destroy or something, where there's a clear winner and a round advantage or something, because it just never happened. You know? Because I always played with a group, and all 6 of us would have been like, we would have all come back online later and be like, yeah, all of our internet just simultaneously went offline at the same time. Like, I would remember that. The argument is that DOSing was just as prevalent back then. I think that's what he's saying. Is that since the days of online gaming, cheating and DOSing has always been as prevalent, and I don't think that that's true. I think it existed back then, but to say it was as prevalent as it is now, I think that that's so false. Nine years ago, after constant DDoSing, former #1 player Retro Manano de-ranked himself. He just wanted it to stop. Oh, that's 9 years ago on Reddit. I'm not saying that it didn't happen back then. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but saying it was as prevalent back then just doesn't seem possible. Yeah, all you're proving, Wheezy, is that it happened 9 years ago to a very well-known player. He was targeted. He was the #1 player, okay? So, okay, it was happening to him so much that he de-ranked himself. That doesn't logically lead to that the conclusion that, yeah, DOSing and cheating was just as prevalent back then. No. There were not companies making millions of dollars selling cheats back then. The scope and reach of cheating and DOSing is significantly greater now than it ever has been. I don't feel like I don't feel your case is even remotely provable. There were not companies making millions of dollars. There weren't C&Ds sent and lawsuits back then. It was not at the level that it is today. You are correct in saying back then it was a thing. It's been around for a long time. You are correct in saying that. I'm taking issue with you saying it was just as prevalent. Absolutely not. It is so much of a bigger issue now. For Call of Duty to be like, we banned 500,000 accounts, 500,000 accounts. That wasn't happening back then. There's no way. More profitable? No, it's more widespread. It's more widespread now. It's been a thing since 96, but not everyone knew about it, and it took a while before script kiddies were able to get their hands on it in the early 2000s. Now it's easier to get the scripts and resources to perform that kind of attack. I was top 500 in the Modern Warfare leaderboards in Hardcore Search and Destroy and Team DM. Looking back, I got DOS multiple times. It's possible we just hung out in the game modes that it didn't happen. We were always in Headquarters and Team Defender, and I mean, it's possible those just weren't viewed as competitive playlists, and it would be more likely, I would think, in the competitive playlist for that thing to appear. You can't prove a DDoS easily, can you? No. You can't really prove it. You'd have to, you'd have to potentially maybe contact your ISP and be like, hey, can you run a report and see why I got knocked offline? And if they said, oh, we were doing maintenance in the area, well, then there's your answer. But if they're saying, we can't really tell, it looks like you received, an insane amount of packets at such and such time of day, and then after that it went offline. I mean, I don't know if they can run that level of an in-depth report or not. There's more to DDoSing than just getting knocked offline. I mean, I ran into lag switchers, Wheeze, which I suppose is not necessarily a denial of service. They're disrupting their own service. What is this if you've never done memberships? Yeah, that's a YouTube membership. Fat Rabbit. I said we never launched memberships on the SNTR network. Our website doesn't have memberships. So you having trouble logging into my website doesn't have any bearing on that charge. You're being charged by YouTube and should go to your YouTube account and cancel it. I don't have any control over that. We did not launch the packages on the network. That your receipt literally says YouTube on it. You can get hit with a DDoS and just get lag. Oh. Yeah, today's date is a palindrome. Well, is it? No, it's not. Oh, it's only a palindrome if you put a 0 before the 2. I mean, we definitely had weird things happen in Call of Duty like that sometimes. One, 2, 2, 2, 1 also works. I was just looking at the clock down in the corner and it was 1, 2, 2, 2, 0, 2, 1. And I was like, that's not a palindrome. You can read it upside down. No, they turn into 5s upside down, don't they? No, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, you can read it upside down. I was thinking of flipping it. Like turning my head up. I was like, wait, are you real? Are you for real? Yeah, what's good, Quad? Hello, Dr. Budster. Fuzzy managed to make Lono look like a fool on stream. How is that an achievement? Isn't that just another day? Fuzzy wins. Well done. Someone clip that. I'll just claim I was trying to crack my neck. I look like I have stomach pain. You're mocking me having stomach pain, Sven. That's really rude. If we get a Titanfall 3. Yeah, so if you guys are tuning in for Titanfall 3 news, my breakdown of it came from the Respawn announcement that Titanfall 1 would be delisted. And they said that Titanfall universe would continue both in Titanfall 1, Apex, and into the future. And for me, into the future is a pretty strong indication that they do have plans to make another Titanfall game. I think any instance of it is a big deal. If it was a big issue back then, it was a massive issue now. Yeah, I was obviously being, somewhat educated on the fact that, like, oh, wow, DOSing and cheating was a thing back then. I just never really realized I had ever run into it. But I think I just took issue with the statement that, like, it was just as prevalent back then. I was just like, that I don't think I agree with. Even in my ignorance, I don't think it was as prevalent back then. I think there's a variety of issues that have led to it being far more prevalent and far more widespread now. Maybe if you didn't eat like a criminal, you wouldn't get tummy issues. And yes, I did that on purpose. You are foolish to reveal your weaknesses to us. I think it's happening less now from a per capita standpoint. You mean Titanfall 2? Oh, what did I say? Yeah, they said that the Titanfall universe would continue in Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and into the future. Yeah. More people, more occurrences, sure, but our router tech blocks more. Huh. Oh, yeah, he was responding to you. I was just reading a comment. I mean, I just periodically grab comments that, read it out loud and let people hear it. Inflation of gamers attests to that. More people you have in a given environment, the higher chances you have more bad people that can inflict harm onto everyone else around them. Yeah. Do we have the premiere over there scheduled yet? Because I was getting ready to, No. Okay. I was going, let's have it hit at 2:30. You need my description? Oh, frick. Yeah, I know you can't schedule a live event. That's fine. I usually schedule the live stream right before we go over. Well, shoot. Hang on. Alright. You guys are just gonna have to bear with me here. Search and destroy. That always makes me think of that 30 Seconds to Mars song. Search and destroy. Let's see. The cancel. Alright. Details. The okay. Oh, what do we typically do with the hashtags for this? There we go. Just give me a second, chat. We got to get this thing scheduled. Yeah. Okay. I am streaming right now. I'm just being quiet because we have to schedule it. We were a little out of order today. Excuse me. Yeah, you can have that. I don't want it. Homemade caramel. Top 8 free caramel. Yeah, maybe. That might help. Give it a little more solidified. No, I got it, creature. I got it. I'm writing the description right now. It's fine. I don't want you to make something up because I have like a format I've been using with all of the episodes. I think you've typically just had it ready for me in the morning. I think we were just a little out of sync today is all. I started like 15 minutes late anyway. I'm going to go back and highlight everything just in case we lose this. Copy. And I'm going to go into stream holding and paste it just in case I need it. Just in case anything weird happens. Since I don't think you're poking around in there now, but just in case. Set as a premiere today at 2:30. Set up premiere, ambient, save. Day at 2:30. I usually have these one in advance. That is true. Because of the holiday, I came back and it got recorded later than typical. We were just out of sync this week. Because usually I have it recorded over the weekend, and I was in Ohio over the weekend. Okay. Go live. All right, I need the thumb. Where'd that thumb go? Open the original, save image. So for those of you who don't know, we're continuing the Say No to Rage story today with the cancel, like the night of the cancel. And Madam will be joining me for the AMA. And it should be very good. Daily custom thumbnail limit reached. It may take up to 24 hours before you can create a new custom thumbnail. Okay, that alert just left. I was like, what? I was like, excuse me? I've never seen that before. $330. Actually, can we go 320? Is that possible? No, 330. Okay. Today at 330. Done. You know what that's about? Yeah, did they not let you just constantly change the thumbnail on a video? Like over and over and over and over and over again? Stop people from changing thumbs on the fly to game the system. Yeah, it must have just misfired because like it literally was a stream that hadn't, you know, it's just a brand new stream. All right, edit premiere and add the redirect. Save. All right. We talk about Vincent Pala taking over DICE after the train wreck of Battlefield 2042. We might end up covering that, yes. We might end up covering that. You are correct, sir. Why is it not letting me see the upcoming live stream? What is it, not public or something? YouTube's being so freaking weird. I scheduled it. Yeah, it's public today at 2:30. Is it in the playlist? Is it, what is it, not in the play? No, it's in the Stand Under Rage Story playlist. Yeah, freaking YouTube's doing that weird thing where, like, the video isn't there yet. Like, it's scheduled, but I can't see it. All right, well, I'll have to get the hyperlink from in the back end then. But the word PewDiePie in the description, yeah, that doesn't work. Like, you can't game the system. You can't be like, you can't just put what you think are like really hot topic keywords, because you get bad conversions from that, and then YouTube obviously catches on to the fact that you said you were going to be talking about PewDiePie or discuss whatever, and then he's not in the video, or you never say his name or whatever. They're pretty good about catching people that try to do that. That's a form of keyword spamming, and if you do that, your video gets deservedly, it gets treated poorly. YouTube's not going to be recommending it. YouTube's not going to be showing it. Okay, upcoming live streams. It's showing up now. Okay, cool. YouTube's just a little laggy today. Okay. I do want to see something, though. I do want to see something. Copy. Have they opened up redirects to videos not on this channel? That'd be such a great feature. No. What a bummer. They need to do that soon. Mm-hmm. Yo, what's good, feed? You like any of the topics from your tweet last night? If I say so myself, I like mine the best. I was kind of it was my fault. I didn't get recommendations that I wanted or that I was looking for, because I've tried to make it very clear we're not discussing gaming on SNTR Presents. So I appreciated the guy that was like, I liked the Lost video. Barrier wants me to respond to Gothic's latest video. I don't know if I can do that. She's getting into an environment that I am not necessarily comfortable discussing. Hex had a pretty good one. Mental health and your personal struggle with overcoming some of the negative traits that you've talked about. Talking with this guy named No Taxation who went through a cancel. And then somebody said Gothics. Somebody said do something creative like music. No. Hilly said the psychology behind cheaters in video games. I don't know if I could do that. Again, we're trying to not do gaming content. Somebody said parents and screen time was interesting. I think hearing other people's parenting methods is always interesting as long as it's not crazy. This one's not bad. How to critically think, logical fallacies, and how to properly argue. That would be a tough one. How expectations are the killer of joy in games. Can't do that. How Rockstar treats the gaming community. Can't do that. Work-life balance from Russell Stewart. That's a good one. Shoutcast, Dr. Disrespect, and Tim. I can't do that on Presents. Your journey through gaming. What games you started with as a child and what notable games you played as you grew older. Yeah, I can't do that. I should have been better. I should have been more clear. Like, I've been clear that we don't do gaming content on Present. So I just assumed people would be like, oh, let's suggest non-gaming topics. So that was my fault for not specifying, hey, I need non-gaming topics, non-gaming content creators that you want me to interact with and react to. Like, who do you guys consume that you think is thoughtful or good or whatever? Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a content funnel that would be a little bit easier on me. Because just to be honest, it's really hard to just keep coming up with topics and subjects like that unless there's like a good news thing, like Ninja responding to his viewership decline was one of our better videos recently. We could comment on I think I might end up doing that for Friday because I don't have anything Ludwig leaving the purple platform, and his commentary about it, and how people are sort of combing over his VOD, and how he was sort of treated like an unwanted child, and he was like the 6th most revenue generating streamer on the platform. You know, he's in the top 10 of revenue generating streamers, and they didn't treat him very well, and he left. And so it's eye-opening. A lot of people are seeing purple in a negative light because of it. And I may make a video about that, about his exit being sort of a bad omen for purple streamers. And so we may cover that. But if I don't have anything in the hopper, like we're thinking through, like, are there, because you guys know that I'm consuming some of Jordan Peterson's stuff, but I don't want to get stuck in a rut. Like, there's other guys out there that I think create thoughtful content that I could interact with. Maybe even do a little reaction like here. I don't want to become a reaction channel, but like, hey, here's a 30-second clip or a minute-long clip that I think is pretty good, and I'm going to interact with it, right? Yeah, Rogan's tough because Rogan's more of an interviewer. We could do reactions to some of Heller's stuff. Yeah, Harris Heller would be good because he gets on the content creator wavelength. Yeah. I don't believe Titanfall 3 is coming. I want to believe it, but I'm sick of getting my heart ripped out. I think the Titanfall 3 news that we got from Respawn Entertainment's announcement is that, yes, they are planning on making it, but it's not going to be anytime soon. Purple's pretty much run by people who think they're still in high school. I'm telling you, industry leaders that think they'll be king forever fall from the throne quickly. They do. Industry leaders who think they will be king forever, and they do not iterate, they do not innovate or evolve, they fall from the throne quickly. They do. So, I don't think Purple's in any danger in the immediate future, but I think in 5 years, their current trajectory and plan is not one that has legs. I don't think it has legs. And I said that when I was over there. I said they weren't innovating enough. I said they weren't creating algorithmic discovery. They were too focused on monetization. I said all of this when I was over there. I said it was too top heavy. I haven't changed my opinion. You're in a tough spot. No politics or religion or gaming limits options. I think we can get into the religious and the cultural. I think we can. Religion and culture are fine. Politics is tough because it immediately turns into a freaking fist fight, right? And Eugene is touching on why I can't really interact with some of these commentators. Because I would love to pull up somebody like Shapiro and disagree with something that he states. But unfortunately, I checked his most recent uploads, and I'm just like, there's no way. There's no freaking way I can go over there and even touch his stuff. It's a freaking minefield. He's pandering. He's pandering to an audience and a demographic, and I get it. It pays the bills. But I can't go over and interact with him because it's not a bunch of intellectual discussions or cultural discussions. It's a bunch of pandering. And Rogan has done similar things recently. He's leaning into an area that I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going down that lane. I'm not doing that. Hard to separate culture and politics. It is. It's extremely difficult. I know you like Peterson, but I don't want to see you go political. Peterson's not the way. He has a monsoon of content and topics that have nothing to do with politics. He gets into so much more than the political. He's getting attention in the political realm because people don't like what some of his stances on stuff in Canada and that. But most of his content is not at all in that realm. At all. Can you talk about the endless effects of isolation? I can't. I would have to do research into that realm. If you can find... See, here's what I'm good at. Let me explain to you what would be good. Is that if you found, let's say, somebody extremely educated. There's like a really good video I watched a while ago, and it was a psychologist discussing the psychology behind cancel culture. That's the kind of video that I could interact with. So if there is somebody who has done some study and research into the psychology of the isolation and us separating and what that's doing to people, that could be interesting to interact with. But I'm not going to freaking interact with somebody's video who's doing the don't comply thing. I'm not doing that. I'm not walking into that minefield. I just don't want to. I don't think it's productive. I think so much of it is just fireworks to get clicks. So much of it is just fireworks to get clicks, and I'm not interested in that topic. Maybe it presents on how to overcome your biases. This is what I'm good at, okay? So, like, in the live environment, what am I good at? And think back to just today. Think back to just today. Alarian and other people were making statements, and I was dicing up the statements, and it was great. And we lost track of time, okay? I would love to do, like, a show like that, where I'm like, let's throw a clip up on the board of Russell Brand, or Jon Stewart, or Bill Maher, or Jordan Peterson, or thinkers of the day, social, political, cultural commentators or pundits of the day. Here's something they said. Let me tell you what I think about what they said. I can do that without wandering into the dadgum minefield of the sickie. I just don't, that is just absolutely not interesting at all. People confuse what appears to be thoughtfulness with intelligence. I'm not sure which thing that you're speaking about. Yanis Varoufakis books are great. I'd recommend them if you're interested in economics. Start a 5th channel where you can speak your mind without fear of repercussions. Oh, I think you're misunderstanding. I don't care about the repercussions. I don't have any interest in talking about those subjects. I'm not worried about repercussions. Preacher said something to me the other day about the optics. I was like, frick the optics. We're beholden to no one. I don't care about that. I am not worried about repercussions. There are just topics that I have zero interest in discussing because it's just not worth it right now. The temperature in the room is far too hot and the room is too foggy. There's this zero clarity and tons of emotion, and I just have zero interest in getting into it. Brand has lost his mind, I think. I don't think Russell Brand has lost his mind. I don't think so. Yeah, Thomas Sowell has good stuff. He has good stuff. Yeah. He's a pretty good, I think he's a good thinker. I don't think I agree with everything that he says, but I think he's a good thinker and a very well-educated economist. So, because that's my mind for, and here's the thing, you have to understand something. There's value. Let's say you're right. Let's say Russell Brand, I disagree with you, but let's say he's losing his mind and he puts up a video and he takes a position or he says something that I think is just wrong. There's value in that. Let's just, what's this guy saying? What's this crazy British guy saying today? And I watch it, and I'm not going to watch the entirety of the video. I don't want to be a reaction channel. I'd feel better about like springboarding off of a statement the way that we do in our debates and back and forth and interact with what he is saying. There's value in that, even if he's saying something that's kind of like bat junk crazy. There's value in that. But as what Eugene is getting on, I don't want to interact with somebody commenting on the sickie. I have no desire to do that. I would just assume go react to some guy's video who is giving commentary on quantum physics and he works in a bowling alley and thinks he knows what he's talking about. Like, there'd be no reason to do that. SNTR presents Change My Mind. Pick a stand about a subject and have people debate the subject. It could spark good back and forth depending on the topic of the day. There's also room for that, Abe. I think that could be very, very fun. I don't want to immediately, piggyback on what's his name, Crowder, that does the Change My Mind stuff, but I do think that's very, very fun, and we have very healthy debates, so it could be very enjoyable, right? A video about Robin Williams, how you felt about him when you mentioned I found that interesting. Oh my, yeah, that could be tough, but that could be good. We're looking for an alternate word there. I genuinely thought the stream moved in a loop. I'm not sure when did I stutter or stammer onto something. They come off as thoughtful, and that thoughtfulness is confused with intelligence. Right. Right, and I know that's fine. That's just part of being winsome with your brand and your voice and your platform. You know, I could see that being a great segment once a week. Right. And unlike Crowdy, your content would actually be good. I've not consumed any of his content. I assume he's like everybody else, and that he's got things he said that's made people mad, so now they paint him with a broad brush and act like all of his content is garbage. I've never watched a single minute of his content, and I guarantee you that he's taken some dumb positions and said some dumb things, and now everybody just paints him with a broad brush and they throw the baby out with the bathwater. I have no desire to do that. I have no desire to do that. You know, like, people don't like Shapiro, but at the same time, I'm like, but wouldn't it be, I don't know, why throw the baby out with the bathwater? He can't be literally wrong about everything, can he? Has he said things maybe that were dumb, unfair, or uncharitable or whatever? Sure, I bet he has. But that doesn't mean I can't interact with him or his ideas or his statements. Do you see the value there, and not just like closing somebody off and be like, well, that guy's trash. Now, the reason that I went to, like, you know, Shapiro's page and I was like, I can't interact with this, is because he's fallen into a rut. It's like, I don't want to talk about that, and that's all he's talking about. 10 minutes of great food analogies, right? So my decision to not really interact with any of Shapiro's commentary right now is not because of Shapiro, it's because of the topics that he's covering. Does that make sense? I'm never going to dismiss somebody out of hand. I think that is pointless. It is pointless. If there are things that Crowder, Shapiro, Russell Brand, Peterson, if there are things Rogan have said that need to be confronted and disagreed with, that's beneficial, as opposed to being like, well, they're an anti-intellectual, or they're a this, or they're a that, or whatever label you can use to shove them off the table. What? Why? Especially if they're very influential and have far reach. Once you're intellectually dishonest, I can't trust anything you do again. I am not talking about trusting them. I'm talking about interacting with them. I'm not saying support the channel and sub and tip them money and leave comments and likes. I'm saying unfortunately, I covered this in the Polarization commentary recently. It's like, we've just gotten to the point where it's like, well, I saw a clip or I heard a thing, and now that person is just, yeah, they're trash, they're garbage. What? Wouldn't it be better to interact with them? Engage with it? I'm not saying you guys in particular. Like, you only have so many hours in a day, so I don't expect you to, like, consume someone's content you disagree with and, like, leave comments. Like, that's not going to be good for your mental health, I wouldn't think. But the line drawing and the trench digging, I just think is very unhelpful. Aaron Peterson made too many arguments that go against my own beliefs and stances on certain topics. I'm not a fan of them at all. Not trying to go out and cancel them, but I'm not going out of my way to listen to them. Right, and that makes perfect sense, right? Interacting or reacting? Right, that makes perfect sense. Like, if I were to come out and say, if I came out and made some just horrible statement, and I said, like, these certain persons are unworthy of love, and they're not real people, they don't deserve human dignity, I would rightfully expect people to be like, well, I can't support you anymore or watch your content because I am diametrically opposed to a foundational position that you just took. And I wouldn't expect you to watch or listen to my content. But other commentators and other voices in this space, there would be value in them interacting with me and correcting me. Does that make sense? I guess I'm speaking more for myself than maybe you guys. You guys, as non-commentator, non-content creators, I don't expect you to consume content you disagree with. That's stupid. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Other than to maybe be educated about their position rather than just take somebody else's summary. I do think a lot of you do this. I think many of you are guilty of this, and I know you're guilty of it because I'm guilty of it. You take somebody else's summary as canon, and you're like, yep, that guy is a this, and you don't ever consume their content based on that. You never go fact find or check into it yourself. That I do think is an inherent character flaw in the West especially. We just take somebody's summary of, oh yeah, that guy is this dirty word. And you're like, okay, that's canon, and that guy's out now. So at that level, I think some of you make that mistake. Up here at this level, at the content creator, commentator, pundit level, I don't think people interact. I think they just trench dig, draw lines, and they don't come together and meet. And this is why I really like guys like Brand and Peterson and Rogan. I don't agree with everything that they say, but they're coming together and having conversations. And that's far more valuable than what everybody else is doing. So even though I look at some of their commentary on certain things, I'm like, that is just not helpful right now. That doesn't mean I dismiss them out of hand. If you watch Crowder or Shapiro's content, it's extremely evident that they shouldn't be taken seriously. I don't agree with that. I think some of their commentary... Well, I can't speak to Crowder. I've seen some commentary and clips of Shapiro that I thought were dead on, and I've seen other videos that are way off the mark. That's why I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't. If Waldo Emerson is right, and every man is a genius in an area that I am not... He can hit some homers. He can nail some bullseyes. I don't believe that he should never be taken seriously. I just don't believe that. I don't believe it about him, Rogan, Russell Brand, any of these guys that are stepping into social and cultural commentary. I do not believe any of them should be thrown out because of certain stances or videos that they've put out there. You, as a consumer of content, are well within your right to be like, I'm not going to consume their content, but to label them as like, well, they should never be taken seriously. I'm like, well, wait, so that you've just denounced them. That's denouncement. Do you see? Denouncement not the same as dialogue. Denouncement is you try to go underneath of them and chop their legs off and shove them in a ditch. Be like, yeah, nobody should take them seriously. And I am always massively cautious against that. Massively cautious. Like, but why? I also don't believe they believe what they sell. Yeah, I think there's elements of that too, Eugene. I do. I'm like, you're way too smart for this. You're doing this because it pays the bills. You're doing this because your demographic would abandon your channel if you didn't do this. This lacks integrity. This lacks integrity. I 100% agree with you, Eugene. 100% sense that like you are way too smart for this. See, right now, what we're doing right now is how I envision the show going. This is very similar to what I see the show being like. Being like a, let's take a topic and just bat it around. You know? And usually what we would be doing is we would be taking an actual quote or a clip from somebody. And being like, what's the deal with this? What do we think of this? Oh no, but they're doing it on both sides. I'm not acting like this is a right or a left. This is not a right or a left issue, my friend. This is so tough, isn't it? It's a microcosm. It is a microcosm. Yeah, Robert senses what Creature's trying to do. Sorry, it's too late. It's a microcosm of the American news media. It's a microcosm of it. Why? Because it's the same animal. It's a horse of a different color. They make their money from clicks and viewership. And the minute that's your livelihood, the purity is so tough to maintain. Super tough to maintain. How many independent thinkers or independent news outlets have attempted to like use YouTube to really deliver truth in an honest and integrity way, and then all of a sudden they become a microcosm of American news media. And it's like, well, you're just doing the same dadgum thing. You're doing the same dadgum thing. For the show, the people that you speak on are political, and I would strongly recommend against it. I don't think that's a problem. Coming at this from a purely mathematical perspective, it is way less probable to be wrong about literally everything all the time than to simply disagree on perspectives or ideas. That's exactly my take on this. The only times I can agree with them is when they are stating objective facts. The moment there's a hint of subjectivity, it's clear where their biases are. But that's true of everybody on either side of every single issue in existence. Not a left versus right thing, but name the personalities and left equitable to the ones on the right. Well, that's the problem, Eugene, is in the American news media, that's not hard at all, brother. It isn't. It is not hard at all. It's not hard to the point that even like Jon Stewart called out one of them about it. Like, what the frick are you guys doing? You know what I mean? Like, So, and here's the thing. You're asking me for a version of that guy. I couldn't give you one because I don't consume it. But I definitely think both sides do it. I just think maybe one side's more bombastic than the other, and the other side's a little bit more understated, so it's harder to detect. But it's still there, baked into the crust. It's still baked into the crust. Yeah, they're not innately political. They're not always political. They certainly touch on political issues. Sure. I want the answer to Eugene's question. I can't. That's the problem. I can't answer the question because I don't consume it. So I don't have an abacus where I could be like, all right, here's all the American news media that's just as bad on this side as on this side. I've decided that I don't think any of it is worth consuming, and so I don't consume it. Now you might say, well, didn't you just say that dismissing instead of dialoguing is bad? True, but I look at the American news media as an entity and a machine that isn't worth engaging with or consuming, rather than a person or ideas. Thing is that their biases are often so far from mine, I can't look past it and can only look at the facts. I'm not this, but I can look past San Avi's biases. I mean, this is obviously very, very interesting because what you're getting into is bias proximity. So the closer your biases are to them as far as proximity, the more palatable they become, right? So a guy whose biases, starting place, presuppositions, and beliefs, the further they are from you, the less palatable they are. They can't do it. You're just like, I just don't want to listen to this, right? I don't have, oh, that's the guy he's from the Young Turks. Okay, I wasn't sure of that name. I was like, that name seems familiar to me. I don't think the left needs a Tucker Carlson because the majority of the media is already left-leaning. If the media was more right-leaning, you'd have a liberal version. Yeah, I just don't know. The problem with that is you're doing tally marks. And I think that tally marks are unhelpful because it's almost as if you're trying to say one side's more inherently sinister or bad than the other, and you're using extreme examples. And I don't think that's a fair way to represent a side. It was like people trying to represent Christians and they would point to Westboro Baptist. It's like, oh, come on. What the frick? They do this on the news all the time, right? They bring on the fringe crazy person to represent a group, and then they wail on that person. So running to an extreme to be like, well, your side's clearly worse than the other side. I don't think that's productive at all. You're just tally marking. You're just putting hash marks on the wall as if American news media is like, well, the left has less extreme people, so it's more palatable? No, it's still bias-laden entertainment faux news. Do you see? It doesn't matter if the talking heads are hotter or more tepid. That's not the issue. The issue is that it's bias-laden, entertainment-driven faux news. It's not real. The 24-hour cycle is driven more by entertainment than facts or accuracy. Yeah, even Maher lately has become a critic of the left. Yes, he has, Nova. Bill Maher has. $106 million worth of metaverse land sold last week. Oh my gosh. You watch for-profit news and you'll be informed with whoever's paying the bills. Right, and this is why I said this is where it gets troublesome in the YouTube hemisphere, because it's becoming a microcosm of the American news media. So I go and look at talking heads and people that I think are good thinkers, or they're intellectuals, and then I notice the content starting to lean into a rut, and I'm like, oh, but I understand why you're doing it. It's making you tons of money. Like I said, it's a microcosm. What makes the money? What gets the views? What gets the clicks? You have to, think about what we're doing on the gaming channel right now. We've been niching down. That's the strategy. You niche down so that your content's more predictable, and then you appeal to a subset of an audience. In the minute you get into like cultural, sociological, political discussions, it's going to be really, really hard not to start to niche down. And then there you are. That's your audience. That's your pander angle. Critical thinking needs to be done. That's what people lack. It's so difficult to even have this subject, because look at what's happening in chat. I'm having to gloss over 30% of the commentary because it just turns into stone throwing. To think as though one side is more pure than the other or cleaner than the other. If you put 2 chocolate cakes in front of me and you told me this one has, 5 pieces of feces in it and this one has 2, I don't want to eat either cake. I don't want to eat either cake. I don't care which cake has less of the feces in it. They both do, and I'm not interested in consuming the cake now. I'm good. So you can try and keep score and try and act like, well, American news media, this side's a little bit better than this side's a little bit. It's all done now for me. It's all done. It's like I can't do it. There's not enough here. There's not enough here to justify even listening. Now, this is where I think independent thinkers that are not backed by some corporation, you're probably gonna get at least a purer amount of dialogue or back and forth, right? So this is why when I look at guys like Russell Brand or Peterson or even Rogan, and they're having dialogue with people, I think the dialogue is valuable. I'm not looking at the person, I'm looking at the dialogue. And they can have that dialogue, and they can invite somebody on their show and conceivably lose a debate maybe because they're not backed by some corporation. It's going to be like, no, don't let that person on the show. No. We need to edit that out. We need to slice that out. That wasn't a good look for us. That wasn't a good look for our brand. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they're automatically more pure. Every single one of these guys is going to have a bias. Every single one of these guys is going to have a presuppositional starting position and point and lean that is going to dictate what they talk about, how they talk about it, and who they end up talking with. But I feel like you're going to start to see the more independent voices, like a single pundit or a single voice, being more willing to interact with somebody that disagrees with them because they're not having their everything dictated to them by some big corporation. The only reason people even consider Peterson is because they hope to get a share of his clicks. That is so reductionist and not accurate or fair. No. About the last 39 minutes, you say? LOL, done? What? I'm not going to beat Titanfall 3 to death. This is a living, breathing thing. Okay. Oh, we see Titanfall 3? Yeah, if you actually clicked on this for Titanfall 3 news, Titanfall 3 news came in the wake of a Respawn Entertainment announcement about Titanfall 1 being delisted, and they said that the Titanfall universe would continue in, quote, Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and into the future. And into the future. So... yeah, were we getting search on this? We were getting some, but not much. We were mostly getting search off of me. It's fine. It's fine. It was a week. We knew it was a weak news day anyway. I don't see one side's calling another this and posting videos of this and setting this to the death threat voicemails. But okay, so the problem is, and this is something that I think that Peterson's been helpful for me on, is bad actors on all sides, but one has gone off the rails, and that's why we know who they are. Right, and the dilemma I have with that is, does that mean if we can rightfully conclude, Eugene, that one side's gone too far, both in their commentators or their actual like politicians or whatever, is that an indictment of that side? Is it an indictment of that side? And at what level is it an indictment of that side? Is it an indictment of that side's beliefs and starting positions and tenets, or is it an indictment of that side because the people are supporting it and not calling it out? Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, is it an indictment of that side, and at what level is it an indictment of that side? It would be like, because the way I look at it is, if it's like if I went into a religious gathering and they were rude to me and threw stuff at me and I left. There's so much going on there. Would that be an indictment of their belief systems, their holy book, their practices, their traditions? Or would it be an indictment of the people in the building? Because it could be completely contrary or a completely over-exaggerated idea of like their beliefs. It could be a misrepresentation of their beliefs. So it would be wrong for me to be like, well, everybody that worships that, everybody that's part of that club is in with this because of an extreme thing that happened. Do you see, like, this is the problem when we focus on the extremes. Because here's what I think would happen, and this is what I've been advocating for. I think if more people were coming together and having those conversations and prizing dialogue and discussion and thoughtfulness and empathy and understanding, those types of people they wouldn't get the traction. You couldn't be that extreme. It wouldn't work. It would have no quarter. The indictment is the failure to rein that in. Right. And then it gets even more murky. Who is supposed to rein that in? Who? The failure to publicly admonish it. And my question would be, is everybody on that side of the fence failing to publicly admonish it and to discard it and say this is awful? Because generally speaking, I think a lot of people do, but that doesn't make headlines. The fireworks make the headlines. Are you falling prey to the very thing that we're talking about? Everybody's looking up at the fireworks and not seeing the people down below being like, no, we think this is terrible that they said that. That's on the group? How, though? How? I run in circles right now of people that have, in their own influential ways, in their own ability to speak publicly, have said that things like that and some of those behaviors are reprehensible. But you don't hear that. You see what I'm saying? That's not a headline. There are people speaking up and they're being attacked. Right. Okay, see, now you're getting to the root issue. Okay. The root issue then is not an indictment of that side. It is symptomatic of the polarized tribalism that we live in right now. I'm trying to diagnose the sickness, not wail on a symptom. And that's how I view it. Big dummy loudmouth says something dumb, awful, okay? People that are on that side, in some measure, try to say, hey, that's out of line, and they get attacked. People on the other side then use it to paint the other side with that brush. All of those are symptom of tribalism and polarization, not necessarily an indictment of that side and its beliefs. Why do they vote for support next time, though? Yeah, the difficulty is with some of this, Eugene, is I'm not privy to some of the things you're talking about. I'm not privy to some of the things that you're talking about. I don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff. So it's difficult for me to say, oh, well, in that instance, that person said this, and these commentators and public persons tried to speak out against it, or these people tried to rally and you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, some of this I'm not privy to. I'm not tuned into it because I just find it very unappealing. So some of the stuff you're outlining, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. We're kind of like way off subject. What we were doing is we did talk about Titanfall 3 for about an hour. And then at about an hour and a half mark, hour and 20 mark, we drifted because I was basically getting my other stream ready. And somebody brought up the tweet. I sent out a tweet and said, are there content creators, ideas, or topics that you would like to see me interact with? And basically what I'm saying is I am not interested in the let's figure out which side is worse, right? Let's figure out which side is worse. I didn't take your suggestion, Brian, and it wasn't even duly noted. I'm ignoring you, but now I'm speaking to you because I want you to know I'm not taking orders from you or suggestions from you. It's like I think it might be the first day I've seen you speak in chat. So, you no thanks for any sort of commentary on me taking a suggestion from you to divert the conversation back to something that you would prefer. I will. Politely, as I can say it, I will do whatever I want on my channel. Yeah, the Ludwig might get covered tomorrow. But that's what I was saying is, like, I'm not interested in figuring out which side's worse or American news media commentary. I'm just not interested in that. I'm not. I am more interested in the dialogue and the discussions that are happening, because I think that if you want an antidote to some of the things that you guys have been talking about, I think that's the antidote. The antidote is people saying, we demand better discourse and dialogue. Right? We demand better dialogue and discussions. That's the antidote for what you are saying. Like, think of it this way. If the temperature in the room is too hot and there's too much fog, this is how I kind of view the situation. It's like a sauna. The temperature in the room is way too hot and it's real foggy. Not a lot of clarity and it's super hot. The solution in the antidote is not to just leave the room or stay in the room and keep hurling stuff around. I don't think the solution is just to leave the room. Like, well, it's too hot and foggy in there. I'm out. I view the antidote as trying to go in the room, cool down the temperature, and have clarity. Get rid of the fog. Start to come together and have those conversations. That's the way. That to me is the way forward. We need for everyone to talk, even if they disagree. People forget that it's okay to agree to disagree, so long as it's done civilly. I've been out for 2 years and it rules. Here's the danger, Orphan. Let's take the analogy further. The more time we stay outside of the room, the hotter the temperature, then the more destructive it gets. It's like a pressure cooker. It's gonna blow. It's gonna blow. That seems very ominous and apocalyptic, but it's like, well, come on. Somebody's got to step back into this room and have dialogue. And this is one of the reasons. Oh, this gets think about this for a second. Why do you think the people that are trying to have sensible conversations, regardless of what you think about their opinions or their statements or what they've said about certain things, why do you think they're trying to be cast in a negative light? Because it doesn't fit in the current system. The current system doesn't want that. The current ecosystem and the current zeitgeist is no. We can't have charitable, calm, thoughtful conversations. We got to label you and get you the frick out of here because we don't want anybody listening to you. You're a threat to the status quo. Don't you think it's interesting that a lot of these people are already just being labeled as things that they're not and just trying to throw them out? That should be more interesting to you than anything. Why would any educated thinker of the day just be labeled and cast outside? Well, because that's not helpful to the current, sort of, I guess you would call it's a power dynamic, is that it's easier to maintain your power, your platform, and your influence if you have people thinking in tribalistic ways. It's so much harder to try to establish, power, revenue, and income on nuanced discussion. Civility and intellect bore people. That's right. There's no money in it. For that to be a thing, we would need to fix how our government works first so they can make money from private interests. You see, what that has baked into it the idea that social change comes from structural change, and I think it's the other way around. I think the culture changes and then dictates the structural changes. I don't think you change a culture through structure and the government. I don't think that's how it works. It's the other way around. If we spent the next 10 years recapturing civility, discourse, and a middle ground, that would be and would result in a changed structure. I don't think you do it the other way around. People nowadays love to throw around the label. While I agree he might have some views, I wouldn't go as far as to call him this. Again, on some of this, I'm just tapping out. I don't know enough to commentate. I don't. I will say this from 30,000 feet. I feel like a lot of these guys get described as something that they're not, because I think they make statements that don't jive with the other side, and so the other side labels. It's happened to Peterson. I am not a Peterson apologist or Peterson disciple, but it's happened to him. He has been 100% mislabeled on certain subjects because people just don't like what he's saying. So he just gets mislabeled. So I'm not saying that that's happening in every instance, but boy, is it frickin' common to mislabel somebody simply because you don't like their position, and then everybody just sort of accepts that. They're just like, yeah, he's a this. And it's like, well, why? Because somebody told you that? Did you read a headline? So I am saying that at 30,000 feet, having never consumed the man's content. There is a propensity in the public and the culture now to just label somebody because you don't like what they're saying. You're just like, yeah, they're this. And it's like, and then I've struggled on some of these instances to find any shred of proof of it. And I obviously am a little bit sensitive to this, right? I'm very sensitive to using a very nasty label because of something incredibly misrepresented and minor. Like, that is so common now. Does anybody watch Breaking Points with Crystal Say? No, I've never heard of that. So let's bring the bicycle back onto the road. We've gone off into the woods a little bit, okay? Let's bring it back onto the road. I want to know. I'm not interested in American news media pundits. I'm not interested in that. I want to know who right now you think is a commentator, a voice, a thinker worthy of listening to or engaging with. Like, who are you consuming? Who are you listening to? Who do you think is making sense of things right now? Who? That's what I'm interested in. I don't care. People spend an awful lot of more time talking about who's bad and evil and wicked. Okay, well, who in the world are you consuming? See this right here. I need a room in the Discord for this. Hulk Hogan. Because I'm seeing names I don't recognize. I recognize Sam Harris. I felt Harris's critique of Christianity to be incredibly bankrupt, but I know he's got other things that he's written about. Eric Weinstein, two people are saying Lex Friedman. We need a room. We need a room in the Discord for this, so I can find, consume, and interact with some of this stuff. Yeah, I like Stewart, though. I like Stewart. I know where he leans, but I like Jon Stewart. I think he's a very sensible guy. The beauty, man, I'm telling you, the beauty of not being threatened by somebody's bias or lean is just so liberating. I have so much enjoyed being able to consume someone's thoughts and ideas and not feel threatened by them immediately. That is just so, it is so freaking liberating. Right or left leaning? I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I don't care about that at all. I don't want to cover the sickie, and I don't want to get into big political debates. That doesn't necessarily mean I wouldn't watch a clip from, let's say Jon Stewart is taking a political position. I may interact with the position, but I'm not going to get into the politics of it. Does that make sense? I think you can start to fly under that radar a little bit. It's tough, and it would take some nice dancing shoes, but I think I could do it. And we just need a room in the Discord so that people can make suggestions, and I'll just periodically go consume their stuff, find maybe a clip that really strikes a chord with me, and be like, okay, let's do a video on this. This guy's more science-based and philosophical, but he has some really interesting guests. We have a room in the Discord now called Reaction Suggestions. It looks like, does everybody have a right to access the room? I need you guys to put your stuff in there. We need everybody to be able to have access to the room so non-members can go into our Discord and make suggestions. You say nope, members only. All right, well, we're going to have to make it members only. No, I don't want food reaction suggestions. Okay, so currently it's members only. I guess I probably see the wisdom of that. That's probably the right choice. So if you have content, commentator, whatever, suggestions of topics or things, to put it in the reaction suggestions in the Discord. Mark Clark. I'll change it if you want. Obviously, the concern would be, Creature, we don't want them to be able to go in and put stuff that's nasty. We have a lot of those restrictions in the other rooms that people can access. I don't want somebody there putting a link to something that's terrible. Let's try members only initially and see how it goes. Just hopped in Titanfall 3. So Titanfall 3 news came baked into a like an announcement from Respawn Entertainment about Titanfall 1 being delisted, and they said that Titanfall universe would continue in Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and into the future. So I see the and into the future being a completely separate category, and therefore being like a that's them essentially saying that, yeah, Titanfall 3 is going to be a thing. That's kind of how I looked at it. And if you guys tuned in for Titanfall 3 stuff or gaming stuff and you're like, why are we on this? Listen, when we have a topic that just doesn't really go anywhere or it dies, like, I don't try to force it into a topic. We got about an hour out of Titanfall 3, and that was about it. I thought maybe we'd get a little bit more out of it. This morning's discussion was amazing about Star Citizen. If you missed this morning's show, you missed one of our best shows yet. 21,000 minutes. Thank you, Water Marlin. Flying out to Indy. See you guys on Monday. Nice seeing you try to make content again, Lono. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Abe. It's good to see you trying to make content again. Oh, golly. I think we ran everyone out of energy with the morning discussion. Yeah, the discussion this morning was so good, but it definitely did. Like, I'm still good. I still got plenty of energy, but I definitely think, yes. I do sometimes think chat feels a little wrung out. They're like, oh, man, that was a lot. Yeah. Lono, please confirm. No, don't clutter it up, please. This is meant to be helpful. I don't want to have to scroll through jokes. That's not why the room is there. It's not why the room is there. I don't want to scroll through jokes. That's not helpful. Remember when we had Q&A and people kept submitting joke questions and it ruined the entire spirit of Q&A? Don't ruin the spirit of that room. I specifically stated what I want out of it. Why sabotage it immediately? Like, with all the love in my heart, like, try not to immediately sabotage and troll something. I know that's the internet's propensity, but it's not a joke. I don't want food reaction suggestions. There. Did I need to say it that clearly? Jeepers. I don't have any hard proof, but I watched enough to know he ain't for me. Oh, I don't expect people to watch somebody. Yeah, I don't expect that. I was mostly kidding. You can't do it. No, you didn't poke the bear. You didn't poke the bear. I just want it to be crystal freaking clear. Something like this immediately becomes a wasted effort if we let one joke in. If we let one joke in, it immediately becomes a disaster because everybody would start doing the same thing. Do you understand? It's like moss. Like, whatever you allow replicates itself. And if I would have let you guys do that, then I would go in there and I'd have a bunch of nonsense to scroll through. And I don't want that. I'm incredibly busy. If it's going to be a tool for me, I need the tool to be effective. I don't mind his change my mind segments, but the rest is not my cup of tea. Yeah, go to Tim the Tatman for food reactions. That's right. Save it for Friday night. Yeah, I mean, you guys make beer recommendations, you know what I'm saying? And then I drink them on Friday night and give you my reactions. That is true. Lono mukbang videos incoming. Sure. You put one in there already? I appreciate it. That's just it, Sven. I know a lot of you are going to have good suggestions, and I just don't want it cluttered. I just don't. I'm just so busy. Like, it may not seem like it, but just like if I would have to exert any extra time on something like that, it would just be immediately frustrating. And in a small version, it's like, why would it matter, Lono? What's an extra minute or two? Well, when you're very busy, those extra minute or two can just be grating. You know what I'm saying? This change my mind stuff is all on unprepared college kids, kind of whack. He doesn't bring on like an educated person to do the change my mind segment. He just bamboozles some college student. That doesn't seem doesn't he do the segment on his channel regularly? We have a specific example of why these topics are hard to discuss in chat. We're talking 30,000 feet crap, and people get into the muck. Oh, yeah. I mean, I will say this, though, Eugene. 2 or 3 years ago, I would have never even entertained an idea like this. I think we as a community have come far. I think I've gotten better at it as well. Like, you know what I mean? Why would he? He needs to look smart. Somebody in chat is saying, no, he does bring in educated people. Fozzie says, he lets people come to him while he sits at a table. The person walks up to him by choice. Yeah, but that's not the same as telling somebody, yeah, I don't know. You got to have somebody, they need to be able to prepare. Somebody needs to be prepared. Because I've seen some of the clips of like, so-and-so destroys mouthy college student. And I'm like, wait a minute. So a freshman or a sophomore grad student is like hopping on a mic, ill-prepared, asks a question, and gets bested by somebody who came fully prepared with quick rattled off talking point statistics and information. That seems like a stacked deck to me. I would want to see them sit down toe to toe with somebody prepared. That's why I've enjoyed some of the stuff that Peterson and Brand have done. They sit down with another person who is prepared for the topic, and that is enjoyable. Being like, hey, you just got out of, your social sciences class. Debate me on this thing that I am incredibly educated about. The visitor is announced. He doesn't just show up at these... But that's not the... Okay, hang on a second. I'm not saying that they're showing up and shoving a phone in somebody's face. What I'm saying is there's a significant difference between a college student and an educated person in the subject. I could announce tomorrow that I'm going to go to a local college and debate the existence of God, and if I'm just snagging freshman, sophomore, whatever, coming out of class, they're not prepared for that, even if I announce it ahead of time. But if I sit down with, Hitchens before he passed or something, well, now you have an adequate foe. You have an even match. Well, I would be outmatched by Hitchens, but you get what I'm saying. What I think he's trying to do is dismantle narratives on college campuses. I don't know. I am not going to project malice onto the man. What I'm saying is I prefer to see two readily equipped, not necessarily experts, but somebody well-versed in their field going toe-to-toe. That's what I prefer. So I'm not going to assign malice to what these gentlemen do. Like, they go on college campuses and pick on kids. No, these are adults that willingly subject themselves to the engagement. Okay? All right? That's... I'm not giving quarter to the malice of like, yeah, they go pick on college kids. But I'm saying what I prefer is two people coming and knowing this is what we're talking about. And come prepared. Brand was debating a woman on the one. She was a very, very brilliant. She was very bright and very quick. And it was so entertaining. Why? Because they both came prepared, I don't know. I'm not going to say no good can come from it. I'm just saying I would prefer not to watch that because the deck is incredibly stacked. How long do you want for React stuff? What do you mean? I just put anything in there. I'll research it myself. If you've got a specific clip, that is amazingly helpful. Sure. If you have a specific clip and you're like, hey, I love this guy. Here's something he said. What do you think, Lono? Well, that's easy. I wasn't necessarily asking for you guys to go do the research for me, but if you have specific clips or videos, then yeah, I don't care how long it is. I don't think it's traditional debate. No, I mean, it just feels a very stacked deck. I watched a couple of these things where one guy's up on a mic and there's a guy out in the crowd with a mic, and the guy out in the crowd with a mic gets beat. And it's like, well, of course he did. Of course he did. you know, and I always end up feeling bad for them. You can tell it's a person, they're nervous and their voice is a little bit shaky, and they have a piece of paper, and they're like, you said in this article in such and such a time that you thought, and it's just like, oh, come on. It just feels immediately unfair. I'm not going to say, and again, I'm not going to assign malice and be like, oh, that's so mean, but it's just like, come on. That's not the same as two, you know, prepared boxers getting in the ring. That's entertaining. I loved watching, you know, Hitchens and some of these other guys debate. I loved it. Why? Because two prepared individuals came to have a discussion. Lots of the stuff might be hours. I have time in the morning that I listen to stuff while I'm showering and getting ready for my day, so that's totally fine, Robert. That's totally fine. I have a lot of time in the day for that kind of media consumption. And for a while, I was consuming like comedians in cars getting coffee and stand-up comics because I feel like it sharpens my wit, my timing, my comedic chops. But I don't always need to be consuming that. So I've got time in the morning to consume this kind of thing. And there are going to be ones that I just don't watch. If it's like a 2-hour discussion on, you know, the geopolitical strain of the, you know, the globalization of technology, I may be like, no thanks. Yeah, and you can listen to some of this stuff depending on who it is. You can't really, if you listen to me at double speed, it's really going to be hard to consume what I'm saying some of the times. And guys like Shapiro and Russell Brand, if you put them on double speed, it's like, what the frick are they saying? Because they talk very fast. You know, their speech patterns speed up. It's like, what in the frick? You might like Destiny. I'll send you some stuff. Yeah, I've seen him around. I think he's earned himself a reputation as well. I feel like everybody does. I feel like everybody has earned themselves a reputation and are summarily enjoyed or dismissed by people accordingly. It's the same reason you have weight classes in boxing. A mismatch is less than two titans going toe to toe. That's a great expounding on my boxing analogy. Yes. 10 times speed would be like listening to a Scottish podcast. Yeah. So I appreciate you guys putting those recommendations in there. In 10 minutes, we'll be heading over in 10 minutes, we'll be heading over to the continuation of the Say No to Rage story, the cancel. That's it's in 9 minutes, and my wife will be joining me for the AMA after. So winning a debate usually devolves into who has the best talking points, not who has the right opinion. I am, and see, that's why I did a video this week on SNTR Presents Say I think debates are pointless. I do think in a large measure, most of the debates that we consume are pointless. It is merely showmanship and point winning for both sides, and nobody walks away with a greater understanding or empathy. I think discussions and discourse are far better. I'm not saying that a debate can't be fruitful, but I think most of the time they are. In the current climate and in the current function and form that debates take, I don't think they're that fruitful. I find the dialogue, the sit-downs, the more personal situations, I find that to be far more fruitful. Imagine asking for examples of a detailed socioeconomic issue dating back hundreds of years in an effing YouTube chat. I put in a guy who I think is polar opposite of you. Those are probably going to be more those will be my favorite. Those will be my favorite ones. I don't know what your limit is on these reaction videos, or certain subjects is off limits. Feel free to delete. Basically what we're doing, Sven, is we're letting you guys throw stuff at the wall. We'll see what sticks. I don't have any rules right now. On a different note, did you ever consider talking to Dr. K about what happened? Who is that? Who's Dr. K? You need at least 3 hours to get anywhere. 30 minutes is not enough. 30 minutes. What exactly are you talking about, Jaggy? Can't some people count Discourse as debates in a way? Rare Barney, yeah, I think that a debate can have a more discourse-oriented format. This is what typically happens on a debate, okay? Just the logistical, architectural geometry of the debate, okay, is not about a discourse or a conversation. Why? It's two podiums facing the crowd. They're not facing each other. They're facing the crowd. And they get up and they have their opening remarks, and the next person has their opening remarks, and it's point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint. It's all rehearsed. It's all scripted. And each side claps for their guy. And then everybody walks away being like, yep, my guy won. It doesn't feel like dialogue or discourse. The interview of Peterson with Helen Lewis from The Atlantic is brilliant. I love that they're sitting like really close in these chairs. Oh, I love it. It's so good. It's like, oh yeah, they're right there next to each other. It's excellent. Oh, it was so good. She is brilliant, by the way. She's so quick on her feet, so very, very well-spoken and educated. I love her thoughts on Believe Women in the Me Too movement. She's great. She's changed her position, by the way, from 3 years ago. Healthy Gamer GG, he's on Purple. He talks about the struggles and stuff, meditation and how to better yourself and look at issues. Well, I'm already concerned. I already have alarm bells going off. He does interviews with YouTubers and streamers talking about mental strain, being an online creator, as well as how internet culture affects our mental health. I really hope he doesn't prescribe certain behaviors and things for people struggling with stuff. As soon as I see somebody talking about like meditation and mindfulness and all that other stuff, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Yeah. Mental health advocatism turning into self-medication, faux diagnoses. I'm not saying he's doing that, but that just makes my alarm bells go off. Chris Hedges, real human being. He's the only guy that debated Hitchens that I thought held his own. Oh, he's an actual psychologist. Okay, well then that makes me feel immediately better. That makes me feel immediately better. An actual authority in the field. If he's an actual authority in the field, then I already feel better. There's still danger in giving advice to people over the internet, but for frick's sake, at least he's authority in the subject. Nothing's medical advice, however. He is a physician that graduated from Harvard. He's legit. Okay, then he automatically... My indigestion has gone away. I always get concerned when I see that kind of thing. I'm like, oh, here we go again. He suggests seeing your own personal psychologist, but he gives general advice. Okay, well then it sounds like I would agree with him. Yeah. Foe's now part of Lono's daily vocabulary? No, I've said foe for a very long time before you decided to come back in here with your account. I've used that term before. I picked it up from somebody, I forget who. Peterson says pseudo-moralism, but somebody else was talking about it. I used to talk about it with faux morality and advantageous altruism. It's not an accurate description of the Change My Mind segment. I've not seen one. I was basing some of my commentary distorted off of what people were saying. Have you ever tried rocking just a mustache? My wife won't let me do it. I did it once when I did the Mr. Destiny cosplay. Christopher Lynn Hedges is an American journalist, Presbyterian minister, author of television host. He was foreign correspondent for 15 years and reported for more than 50 countries. I mean, can somebody put that in the... We've got a room in the Discord. I'm never going to remember it. I'm never going to remember. Dr. K had a great discussion with Asmongold and his fear of death. Oh, really? All right. Well, it's about that time, folks. Episode 7 of the Say No to Rage story goes live in 60 seconds. There will be an AMA. There will be an AMA that follows it. And my wife is joining me for the AMA. My wife is joining me for the AMA. I want to double check and make sure it's set up to redirect. Okay, it is. So please click the link in chat. Again, my wife is joining us for the AMA. Click that link. I'll see you guys over there. If you guys go over and continue this political debate, you'll be timed out. I don't want that over in my premiere or in my Q&A. Okay? Don't do it. You guys have been kind of going hammer and tongs. That's totally fine. We've kind of let you do it. Please don't carry this over into what we're about to go do. All right? I or my mods will time you out over there. All right? Click the link in chat. We'll see you guys over there. All right? No, you can't stay here. You have to click the link. I can't redirect you. I cannot redirect you. The video you're about to click, the video that you click on, it will redirect you to the live AMA. I cannot redirect you to the video. Please click the link in chat. If you can hear my voice right now, the continuation of the Say No to Rage story about the night of the cancel is going live in like a minute. So click the link in chat and I'll see you over there.